Muslim kings against the Sikhs. So they became truly jungly for a while. They lived in the jungles and they lost contact with civilization at many a time and became more and more militant in their nature and more hostile to the religion of those kings which wanted to suppress their movement of liberation. So this is how Sikhism was weaned away ultimately. It was not their love for the Hindus which bracketed them later on in politics with the Hindus, but it was the hatred of the Mughal emperors and the Muslim kings which, out of a common enemy factor, pushed them more towards the Hindus. Still they have no religious relationship, but it was only that affinity of common enemy which ultimately worked havoc in East Punjab against the Muslims who were residing among the Sikh majority areas. And that created India, and that caused the East Punjab to accede to India rather than to Pakistan. Because there was no unity and no love, so the same movement, the same inner desire to become free and liberated and to form our own government, which pushed them apart from the Muslims. The same desire is at work now to push them apart from the Hindus. So this is the right time in history for them to travel after this rebounds back towards Islam. And this is why we are preparing a very ambitious scheme of addressing the Sikh community at this juncture of history. And we are already at it, and Ahmadi scholars are working, and we, inshallah, after we are prepared, we will launch a worldwide movement to attract Sikhism to Islam once again. And now they are in a better frame of mind to listen to us, much better than any time before.
Thank you very much.
What I expect of you is to give me send me addresses. There you are working very lazily. I have been writing to all the communities in the world to supply us with addresses so that we can go about it in a systematic way. Once we have launched a movement, then it should not be sporadic. It should be systematic and well kept up. But the response in this respect is rather very dismal and slow. So those who hear me and those, particularly the Amir Sahib of England, he should keep in mind that I have repeatedly reminded you to supply us with addresses of every type of people from every religion, because we want to launch a worldwide scheme and very ambitious scheme of very wide contact with the outside Ahmadiyya communities. And we are waiting for the addresses to be sent to us, and they are to be studied, analyzed, compiled, computerized. A lot of work is yet to be achieved before we will ultimately be ready for launching of this scheme. So in that respect you should cooperate.
Thank you.
No, Salim, you have enough questions already. No. Only Mr. After you. First you raise the hand, after you, please.
It's a fact of history that the nations who forget their past and do not remember, honor and commemorate their war heroes, their past heroes, ultimately they falter somewhere on the line and go down in history. Yesterday and today I was watching the commemorating services done by these.
Right.
It gave me thought to think. What should be the Islamic conception of remembering our past heroes, our past history? And in the context of the same, then I thought, then I remembered how the Shia peoples, they have about 150 remembrance per year. and how much cohesion it brings among their community when they go and their priest
Yes, I understand
address
your
them.
question, but tell me, how many times a day do you pray?
I try to pray 5 times a day.
So how many times during a year you are reminded of this?
But that is an individual.
No,
It's not by the
no,
state.
no. How can you call it individual? Wherever it is possible, a prayer in commune is held, in congregation. So it's not just an individual act. It is a congregational obligation. Only you are exempted when it is not possible to hold prayer in congregation. So fundamentally it's a social worship, a worship with social element involved. So Hazrat Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam has exactly said the same thing about these reminders. He says, how can you expect a true Muslim to go astray and become filthy spiritually when he attends to the prayer 5 times a day? His is the example of a person, according to Huzur Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who takes bath 5 times a day. So whatever dirt sticks to his body between the 2 baths is washed by the next one. And as a nightcap, just before retiring, he also has to say a prayer. And the first time when he rises up saying the prayer. I mean, verbal prayers and then formal prayer as well. So this is the reminder. Zikra liz-zakireen. For those who want to get a reminder, no better reminder and no oftener reminder could be given. The other things are just ceremonial, and sometimes ceremonies also work. So Islam also provides with certain ceremonies. Once a week, in sermons, in Jummah, that is a ceremony. And then Eidan, and then Ramadan Sharif. So things are according to the requirements. Political requirements are different. Religious requirements are different. Political reminders have to be in accordance with the requirements. So should be the religious reminders. So as far as the spiritual reminders are concerned, Islamic way of reminding you is quite enough. You can't even cope with that. What else do you desire?
So, my question was on a different lines.
Why didn't you tell me
My
before?
question was on a different lines.
I see.
See, these people, they remember their war deaths. They remember their war heroes. They remember their past in that way. We have taken a spiritual side. That is at its own place. They do not do any remembrance day on say, this matter. No, we do not remember our deaths in any way.
You
Those who
don't?
sacrifice themselves.
You
we
don't?
do not.
We do. We have written so much on Sahaba of Hazrat Rasul Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Articles appear repeatedly in our papers. So much reminder is given to Ahmadis about the good old people who offered sacrifices. And every Friday I also remind you of the sacrifices which are being offered now in the living history. And the previous caliphs also did the same. And during every sermon, every Ahmadi scholar most often quotes the sacrifices of some people, some great men of Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam's times or the times of Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi. This has become a part of life, so much so that we have been so familiarized that we don't take notice of this. It's happening constantly, and still you say it's not happening. So if you think there is something to be added to it creatively, you better write an article on this and submit it to me. If there are any useful suggestions contained, I will inshallah follow them.
Thank you, sir.
But don't just blindly follow others.
So I had in mind, you see, the eternal flame they have, the grave of unknown soldier they
That
have.
doesn't make any difference to them whatsoever. The fact is that that eternal flame, as compared to the constant burning flame of Ahmadiyyat